In many rural areas, wild boars no longer appear at random. They return in a familiar pattern, tearing through fields in a few hours, then disappearing and leaving behind damage and unease. The biggest mistake is treating those first signs as minor. Once they find a food source, they remember it and keep coming back, turning the land into a regular route for the whole sounder and making the damage worse over time. Many people react too slowly because the early damage is scattered and easy to dismiss. A few crushed rows of crops or a corner of a field torn up often does not seem serious enough to raise alarm. But after only a few nights, the destruction grows quickly and begins to threaten an entire harvest built over months. That is why wild boar control is no longer just a response. It becomes a necessary step to break the return cycle before it gets out of control. Wild boars do not move at random. They move by habit and by what feels safe. They quickly learn when people are absent and which routes carry the least risk. That is why half measures rarely work. They only make the animals adjust briefly before returning again. To control them, the conditions that make the area attractive have to change. Once that habit is broken, the cycle of destruction can truly end. Because of that, many trap systems are now used for more active control without direct confrontation. Modern traps are not just catching devices. They also reduce conflict and are safer than chasing animals through the night. Their effectiveness comes from being placed in the right spot at the right time along the herd's travel route. When used properly, traps reduce losses and help farmers regain control. One important lesson is that constant pressure does not always bring better results. Wild boars that survive often learn quickly, remember danger, and change their behavior, becoming even harder to control. That is why it can sometimes be better to stop chasing them and let the herd return to its natural movement pattern. At that point, observing trails, fresh rooting marks, and the meeting points between forest and field can reveal the exact path used by the whole group. Once the travel route is identified, the trap system can be placed in the right position. In areas close to homes, round steel corral traps are often preferred because they create an enclosed control zone large enough to hold the whole herd while limiting panic. The circular design also reduces weak points and makes it harder for the animals to force their way out. Trap placement must stay discreet and be based on real behavior, from the forest edge to the field entrance, not on guesswork. The bait itself is usually very simple, but the way it is placed is what matters most. The goal is not to lure in just a few animals, but to draw the entire herd deep into the control area. This stage requires patience, because a single cautious boar can make the whole group turn away. For that reason, the acclimation phase is even more important than the moment of activation, allowing the herd to treat the site like a familiar feeding spot and lower its guard. The most important moment comes when most or all of the herd has moved fully inside. At that point, the trigger system closes the exits almost at the same time, removing any chance of escape. This method controls the threat right where it appears, instead of sending a panicked herd into residential areas or scattering it into smaller groups that are harder to manage. Success is measured not only by how many are caught, but by the accidents prevented and the crops protected. For farmers, controlling wild boars is not an extreme act. It is a necessary measure when the boundary between human land and nature has been crossed too many times. They understand that wild boars are part of the ecosystem, but without control, the damage will affect both production and safety. That is why a trap placed in the right spot at the right time is not meant to fight nature, but to preserve balance over the long term. In the end, effectiveness does not come from how modern the trap looks, but from the ability to read behavior and choose the right moment. When control is based on observation and positioning, the results become more stable. Success sounds like silence, no more movement on the cameras, no more damaged fields, and residents finally sleeping through the night. If you found this useful, leave a comment and do not forget to follow for the next strategies.
Just start in the back and work your way forward, so keep running in a straight.
A silent war is unfolding across the vast fields of Texas. Giant wild boar herds frequently attack farms, disturbing the land, destroying crops, and causing tens of thousands of dollars in damage to farmers. These animals are not only strong, but also extremely intelligent, making previous control measures nearly useless. In response to this growing threat, Texas farmers have implemented an audacious solution, the largest trap ever installed in the region. But the big question remains, can this giant trap stop the destruction caused by wild boars? Can they halt the invasion, or will they watch their fields continue to be destroyed? It all began with the increasingly severe damage to farms. A large portion of Texas's farmland has been continuously affected. Crops have been uprooted, and irrigation systems destroyed after wild boar herds attacked. what was once considered a rare occurrence in remote rural areas has now become a widespread issue across the state. Wild boars not only damage crops and the environment, but also carry dangerous diseases, such as African swine fever, ASF, foot and mouth disease, and respiratory diseases, which can quickly spread to domestic pigs and other wildlife. ASF, for instance, can wipe out entire herds, severely affecting the livestock industry. In addition, wild boars also carry bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli, which can spread through the environment or livestock. Controlling the disease spread caused by wild boars is becoming a major challenge, requiring stricter preventative measures. When threatened, wild boars can become aggressive and attack anyone who invades their territory, especially mature males during breeding season. This poses a danger to farmers, hunters, and workers in areas inhabited by wild boars. Moreover, traffic collisions with wild boars are becoming increasingly common, causing property damage and posing a risk of injury to vehicle operators. Managing wild boars in densely populated areas is essential to protect both human lives and property. Cope with the increasing pressure from wild boar herds. The Texas authorities have implemented a range of flexible control measures. These methods range from small traps to using helicopters for hunting boars. Among these methods, the steel-framed round traps are considered one of the most effective. The trap structure is made from reinforced 4-gauge steel, forming a solid barrier akin to a small fortress in the field. The trap's door is about 8 feet wide, approximately 2.4 meters, weighs around 70 kilograms, and is enormous in size. It is connected to a remote control system via mobile networks, allowing the trap's door to be activated remotely from a phone. The trap's location is also carefully calculated, typically placed near wild boar migration routes, especially near water sources or areas where they frequently forage. The trap's fencing is reinforced with T-shaped steel posts driven nearly a meter into the ground, sturdy enough to withstand the force of adult wild boars, which can weigh several hundred kilograms. For several consecutive days, corn is scattered inside the trap to attract wild boars. Each day, up to 90 kilograms of bait is used. When the infrared cameras detect that the entire boar herd has entered the trap, the operator will activate the door remotely. Within seconds, the heavy steel door crashes down, completely trapping the boars inside. This method has been successful, with more than 30 wild boars, estimated to weigh over a ton in total, being trapped inside. This is considered one of the few methods capable of capturing the entire herd at once, rather than just a few individuals.
Hey there.
They not only devastate crops and knock down fences, but also cause enormous economic losses every year. What once seemed like a localized issue has rapidly spread, becoming a serious threat to both agriculture and the ecosystem. The speed at which this species adapts and expands its territory has raised significant concern among researchers, as it not only occupies habitats, but also disrupts the already fragile natural balance. What is remarkable, however, is that the way humans are addressing this issue no longer relies on outdated methods. Instead, they are combining technology with a deep understanding of animal behavior to create more effective solutions. These animals are not considered livestock, but rather an invasive species that causes substantial harm to the environment and agricultural production. Their presence brings a cascade of consequences, from crop destruction to soil degradation. Their rooting behavior in search of food turns the soil upside down, destroying its natural structure and disrupting irrigation systems. Fields that were once stable become disordered, losing the fertility necessary for crops to thrive. And it does not stop there. These animals also inflict severe damage on key crops, directly affecting food supply and farmers' livelihoods. That is why modern trapping systems have been developed, aiming not just to capture individual animals, but to control entire groups at once. This process is far more complex than simply setting a trap and waiting. It begins with a carefully calculated strategy. Operators use fermented bait with a strong scent to attract them to a fixed location. The scent spreads through the air, creating a familiar meeting point that the animals gradually return to each night. Maintaining a consistent food source is the key factor. Once the animals recognize it as an easy and safe source of food, they return more frequently, gradually losing their initial caution. After some time, the trap structure is set up around the area, but not immediately activated. This allows the animals to become accustomed to the presence of the trap without feeling threatened. After days, even weeks of monitoring, the right moment finally arrives. When the entire group, including the most cautious individuals, has gathered within the trap area, the system is activated. In that instant, the whole group is contained at once, minimizing any chance of escape. Beyond physical damage, this species also carries significant disease risks. They can act as carriers of bacteria and parasites that spread to livestock, domestic animals, and even humans. Controlling and isolating them within a closed system helps significantly reduce the risk of transmission, protecting both nearby farms and communities. Their strength is another factor that cannot be underestimated. A fully grown individual can reach a substantial weight and move at remarkable speed. When panicked, they can generate enough force to break weak structures. For this reason, trapping systems must be built with high-strength materials, solid structures, and anchored deep into the ground to ensure safety. More importantly, this method is not merely about controlling population numbers. It represents a smarter and more sustainable approach, where humans use knowledge and technology to solve problems instead of relying on reactive measures. Understanding the species' habits, instincts, and behavior has become the key to achieving long-term effectiveness. The success of a trapping system is not measured solely by the number of animals controlled, but by what is preserved. In the end, nature always exists in a delicate balance. And it is timely, science-based, and well-informed intervention that helps maintain that harmony in the most sustainable way.
In a small village in the southern United States, the nights are no longer as quiet as they once were. Wild boars have begun to move in, tearing up fields, bending wooden fences, and leaving fresh tracks right beside the homes where people live. But this time, the villagers chose a different approach. Instead of reacting the old way with scattered and short-term measures, they made a new decision together, to build a shared control system for the entire village. This system was designed to guide the movement of wild boars and reduce long-term conflict with wildlife. This time, the question was no longer, how many wild boars can we catch? But how to ensure the entire village could sleep peacefully again. The biggest change was not the equipment, but the mindset. The goal of the system was not to catch as many boars as possible, but to break their habit of moving toward the village. The focus shifted from reaction to prevention. Instead of placing traps in areas already heavily damaged, control structures were positioned in transition zones, places where wild boars usually slow down when moving from the forest toward farmland. Here, they reduce their speed, observe their surroundings, and assess the environment before choosing their next direction. These are the critical points in their travel routes. Even a small change here can influence the movement of an entire herd. For that reason, each structure is not considered a separate trap, but part of a broader control network surrounding the village. Effective control begins with strategy, not tools. Once the system was established, residents began using bait to attract the wild boars. During the early stage, no traps were activated. Everything remained unchanged for several nights, allowing the boars to approach, observe, and gradually become familiar with the structures.
Come on. Load up. Dusty. Come on. Come on.
The cameras installed were not meant to count animals, but to track how they move, how long they stay, and how the group responds to the environment. This data helps managers understand wild boar behavior and make decisions based on observation rather than guesswork or instinct. By avoiding rushed intervention, the system operates according to natural behavior instead of forcing outcomes. When animals do not feel threatened, their true behavior becomes visible. There is no sudden blockade and no aggressive driving away. Instead, subtle adjustments gradually reduce how often wild boars move deeper toward the village, guiding them back to their natural areas. For the wild boars, these are simply different choices within their environment. But for humans, it is a way of guiding behavior without increasing stress or unnecessary risk. The entire system functions as a unified structure, driven by data, timing, and coordination between people. A system is only truly effective when every part moves in the same rhythm.
Yep.
By the next morning, the village slowly returns to its familiar rhythm. There are no new tracks on the ground and no new damage to fields or homes. Life begins to stabilize again. In wildlife management, long-term solutions rarely come from direct confrontation. They come from understanding animal behavior, using data, and applying responsible guidance strategies. Peace does not come from how many animals are captured in a single night, but from creating an environment where people and nature can coexist without conflict.
There you go, there you go. Yep. Yep. Let's go. Yep. There you go.
If you found this story interesting, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to explore more real stories about life and nature. Over $50,000 worth of crops in Texas were destroyed overnight under the hooves of a massive wild boar herd. Now, the largest trap ever set is ready. Will they manage to catch the entire herd in one go, or will everything continue to be destroyed before the farm is saved? This video documents the entire process of setting up the 30-foot diameter circular trap to capture an entire herd of wild boars. This is a very large number of boars, and if successful, it will capture a significant amount. This is the largest trap the farmer has ever set. The goal is to catch at least 30 boars at once. If the entire herd isn't caught, the remaining ones will become wary, and it will be harder to trap them the next time. This all stems from the fact that this 500-acre farm has suffered significant losses. In Texas, wild boars are no longer a rare sight in a few remote farms. They appear everywhere, from the dry slopes in the west, cotton and cornfields in the central, to the dense forested riverbanks in the east. Deep footprints in the wet mud are becoming more common. It's not just one or two wandering boars, but entire herds moving at night. Texas is now considered the epicenter of the wild boar crisis in the U.S., with over 2.5 million boars, nearly half of the wild boar population in the country. Texas wild boars are actually a mix of different breeds. Escaped domestic pigs and wild boars imported from Europe for sport hunting many decades ago. They are heat-resistant, good at finding water, and can eat almost anything. An adult boar can weigh between 200 to 660 pounds. Large boars with broad shoulders and thick fat layers can easily knock down steel fences if the structure is not sturdy enough. They live in herds, called sounders, consisting of sows and piglets. A herd can have anywhere from 10 to more than 30 members. Mature boars typically live alone, only joining the herd during mating season. Wild boars are mostly nocturnal, especially in areas with high hunting pressure. Their sense of smell is extremely sharp. Even the smallest change in smell or sound can cause the entire herd to change direction. Wild boars can carry dangerous diseases like brucellosis and leptospirosis, posing threats to livestock and humans. Traffic accidents involving wild boars are not uncommon, especially on rural roads at night. If left uncontrolled, these aggressive wild boars will continue to devastate farmland. To combat this, Texas allows year-round wild boar hunting on private land without seasonal restrictions. Control methods include large cage traps, remote-controlled corral traps, night hunting with night vision goggles, and even controlled helicopter hunting on large 1,000-acre farms. A 4-gauge steel circular trap was built like a solid fortress. The circular design creates an open space, encouraging the entire herd of boars to confidently walk in. The 8-foot steel gate, weighing 150 pounds, is connected via LTE and can be activated remotely via phone. The trap is set at an intersection. The steel gate is carefully barricaded to prevent the herd from escaping and is secured by T-shaped steel posts driven 90 centimeters deep to withstand the push of mature boars. Every day, about 90 kilograms of corn is scattered. The gate is left open for 3 to 5 nights to allow the herd to familiarize itself with the trap. When the infrared camera confirms the entire herd is deep inside, the gate is activated from 6.6 kilometers away via a silencer. The reason I do this is that there are other boars inside the trap, and once the gate closes, there will be no way out. As a result, 32 wild boars were trapped with an estimated total weight of over 2,500 pounds.
The call came at 6 a.m. A farmer said that his entire field had been torn up in just one night. He explained that the newly planted soybean rows had been uprooted everywhere. The soil turned into long furrows, as if a tractor had passed through in the dark. He was certain that the wild boars had returned. I quickly gathered my equipment and headed to the farm on the edge of town. When I arrived, the tracks across the field told the whole story. For me, this was not an unfamiliar sight. After many years working in wildlife control teams, I know that once a sounder of wild boars begins returning to a feeding area, the damage can escalate very quickly if it is not handled in time. At first, we decided to try a medium-sized steel cage trap. This type of trap is often used when only a few wild boars are suspected to be active in the area. The frame was about 2 meters long and a little over 1 meter wide, strong enough to hold fully grown animals weighing dozens of kilograms. Inside, we place fermented corn mixed with barley. The smell of the mixture is strong enough to attract wild boars from quite a distance. After checking the drop door mechanism, we left the area and allowed the cameras to record everything that happened during the night. In the recorded footage, the wild boars appeared from the edge of the forest. They moved slowly forward, sniffing the ground as they approached. One large animal stepped inside first, and the others followed one by one. Eventually, several wild boars were inside the trap, but in later clips, many more could still be seen circling outside before disappearing back into the forest before sunrise. Looking at those images, I realized the small trap was solving only a small part of the problem. Once wild boars become familiar with a food source in an area, they usually travel in large groups. If only a few are caught, the rest will return and the damage will continue. So we decided to change our strategy. The next day, a large corral-style trap system was installed in an open area near where the boars usually passed. Steel posts were driven into the ground to form a circular enclosure dozens of meters wide. A steel mesh fence nearly 3 meters high was secured around it to prevent the animals from jumping out. Two one-way doors were installed at the entrance. When a boar pushed the door inward, the hinge mechanism caused it to swing shut behind it. Instead of placing bait in a single spot, we scattered fermented corn along a trail leading from outside the trap into the center. This method helps the animals gradually become comfortable with the structure without feeling forced. During the first few days, we simply left bait around the area so the boars could move in and out freely. Infrared cameras recorded their movements every night. With each passing night, more animals appeared. It became clear that the herd had started treating the area as a regular feeding ground. By the fourth night, when we activated the door system, almost the entire herd had moved inside. In the footage, the animals walked through the entrance one after another. There was no panic. They were focused only on the food ahead. When the last one stepped inside, the door quietly closed. The entire group was contained with almost no loud noise. From a distance, we could hear the faint sound of metal vibrating as the boars moved inside the steel enclosure. As we approached, the scene became clear. Dozens of wild boars were crowded inside the trap. We quickly inspected the entire frame, tightened the locking points, and ensured the structure remained stable. In wildlife management work, experience shows that effective control does not come from rushed actions. It comes from understanding how animals move, how they search for food, and how they respond to their environment. Once those patterns are understood, control measures can be carried out in a responsible and effective way.
Okay, I didn't know she was over there.
The morning over the fields began with an unusual silence. When the farmers stepped out to inspect their land, they quickly realized the ground had changed. Long rows of soil had been torn apart into large patches, as if a giant plow had passed through during the night. Many crops had been uprooted, their young roots exposed on the damp mud. All of these signs pointed to something familiar yet troubling. A sounder of wild boars had visited the area during the night in search of food. At first, many people thought it was just a random visit, but only a few days later, the same kinds of tracks appeared again. The damaged patches of soil gradually spread, expanding from the edges of the field deeper into the cultivated area. The wild boars were not only searching for food, but also repeatedly returning along the same route. Once the herd developed a fixed travel pattern, simple attempts to drive them away were no longer effective. That was when wildlife management teams began to intervene. Instead of rushing to chase the animals away, they chose a more cautious method, studying the behavior of the wild boars before taking any action. Infrared cameras were installed along the forest edge and the trails leading into the fields. After only a few nights of observation, the picture became clearer. The boars moved in groups of 10 to 15 individuals, usually appearing at the same time each night and following the exact same paths. Understanding this pattern allowed the experts to choose more effective trap locations. Instead of placing many small devices scattered around, they focused on the intersections of the trails. There, a large steel cage trap was carefully installed. The trap frame was built from thick steel bars and firmly anchored into the ground to withstand the powerful force of adult boars. The trapdoor was designed as a gravity drop gate that could shut quickly once the trigger mechanism was activated. For several consecutive days, food was placed near the trap area while the door remained open. Fermented corn and various grains were scattered evenly inside and around the steel cage. The scent of the food quickly attracted the attention of the wild boars. At first, they stood at a distance and observed. The adults were usually the first to approach, sniffing around the area before cautiously stepping inside to test the space. After a few nights, the initial hesitation gradually disappeared. Cameras recorded the moment when the entire group began entering the trap to search for food. The younger boars followed the adults, moving through the trap door naturally without realizing they were stepping into a controlled space. Once the experts were confident that most of the herd had grown accustomed to entering the trap, the trigger mechanism was finally activated. Food was placed deeper inside, forcing the boars to move fully into the interior of the cage. When the leading boar touched the trigger bar, the trapdoor instantly dropped down, sealing the exit. The moment happened very quickly. Within just a few seconds, the steel cage shifted from an open state to a completely locked enclosure. The sturdy bars kept the structure stable, preventing the boars from breaking through the frame. The following morning, the management team returned to inspect the site. Inside the cage was the entire group of wild boars that had been damaging the fields for weeks.
Okay, I didn't know she was coming.
Thanks to careful observation of behavior and thorough preparation, they were able to control many individuals at once rather than dealing with each animal separately. This method not only helps reduce damage for farmers, but also demonstrates the importance of understanding wild animal behavior. When humans patiently observe and apply the right strategy, conflicts between wildlife and agricultural land can be managed more effectively. In many farming regions, cage trap systems like these are becoming an important part of wild boar management strategies. They allow managers to monitor herds, control population numbers, and reduce pressure on crops without disrupting the surrounding ecosystem. The battle against wild boars is quietly unfolding across the vast fields of Texas. These wild boar herds don't just destroy crops, they also cause tens of thousands of dollars in damage to farmers. This issue isn't something that happens overnight. It's a silent, escalating attack that grows every night, leaving farmers helpless. This increase in boar activity threatens not only the community but also their agriculture. Wild boars are not always easy to spot. At first, they leave only scattered footprints in remote fields, which are not always noticeable. But when these tracks start appearing every morning and evening, it's no longer a coincidence. The Boars have claimed this territory. They don't just destroy the land, they also threaten the lives of the people living here. Without a strong solution, farmers would never be able to protect their crops. A new trapping system was developed to address this problem. The Boar Buster system, after several days of field surveys, was installed with high precision. Every trap location, activation time, and entry point was meticulously planned. However, the wild boars weren't easily fooled. They cautiously tested the area, waiting for the right moment. When the trap system was activated for the first time, things didn't go as expected. Despite the experts' careful calculations, a delay in the trap's response gave the boar herd an opportunity to escape. The death of any member of the herd could trigger a chain reaction, making the others more cautious. Every second counts when dealing with wild animals. After the first failure, the experts didn't give up. They quickly realized the problem was the delay in the activation mechanism and the imperfect entry angle. The entire system was adjusted to react faster and more accurately. The closer they got to the target, the more patient and detailed the adjustments had to be. Rushing things wasn't always the best option. A small misstep could result in failure. The following night, the trap system was redeployed. This time, everything went perfectly. The boar herd didn't notice the danger in time. Every move went smoothly, and the activation mechanism quickly contained the entire herd in the trap. The safety of the crops and the community was secured. This wasn't just a small victory, but the first step toward fully controlling the wild boar problem. Setting the trap isn't just about technical knowledge, it's also an art of understanding wild animals. The net trap was used to contain the entire herd without causing panic. Once all the boars had entered, the trap was lowered without making a sound or causing any disturbance. This calm strategy ensured the herd didn't recognize the danger until they were fully contained. Wild boar traps don't only help protect crops, but also serve as a safeguard for people's lives. When threatened, wild boars can become extremely dangerous. With strong defensive instincts, they'll attack anything in their path. Controlling the herd doesn't just protect the land, but also reduces the risk of harm to humans. Once the wild boars are caught, they are moved to designated areas for processing. This process is carried out very carefully to ensure the safety of both the animals and those involved. The boars may be taken to facilities where they are handled according to legal regulations or relocated to other areas to be released back into their natural habitat. The battle against wild boars isn't won in one go. It's a long and continuous process of control, aimed at maintaining the balance between humans and nature. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to leave your thoughts and share this video so more people can understand how to protect the community and nature.